Hello and welcome back to McClaren Performance. I went to watch Man City versus Man United. It was rubbish, and I want to talk about that in some detail today. Yeah, so I managed to go to the Etihad, to the Man City game, sit with the Man United fans, awkwardly really close to other Man City fans, and yeah, it's probably the worst experience ever. A lot of my thoughts during the game was, I'd hate this if my dad was managing this team. I would have been having a heart attack. And I pretty much was having a heart attack nearly every time City went forward. It was terrifying watching them going forward. And I'll go into it, but the amount of space they had and the chances that they had, and watching that for, I think, the first 45 minutes was absolutely unbearable. When I've seen people talk about the game and their thoughts on it, opinions are, not so much the tactical aspect of things, but a lot to do with the psychological. And I watch Tifo IRL. They do really good videos, and they didn't even look at the game so much tactically, but really looking at the lack of desire, lack of bravery, like Ten Hag said, lack of bravery in the players, lack of them taking on players, doing the things that they're supposed to do, being in the positions that they're supposed to be in, but not really doing their jobs. And in a way, you can't just say it's separate, separate tactics, separate psychology. They're both one and the same, and they both relate and interact with one another. So take, for example, this game. Before watching the game, I thought I'd try and think how Man United might want to play, and really had two options. They could really sit back, really put players behind, say Haaland's so dangerous, get players back and play to our strengths of this has always been Manchester United's strength of playing the ball long, having players up front that are really quick, wide players as well, like Rashford, like Sancho, who can then get that ball. We get them on the counter attack. That's something that Man United can do really well. The other option is to play football, to play the Ten Hag way, to keep possession, to try and press up front, to play exactly how he wants to play. And obviously he did the latter. Ten Hag wanted to play his way of football, and he's very stubborn in doing that. You can criticize him for that, but I think that's really his main strength, is that he's pushing for this team to play in the way that he wants them to play. Problem is that when they don't play the way he wants them to play and they're set up in that system, it means that when you're playing a team like Man City, flipping it, they can really kill you for making mistakes. But the question is, and I think it was probably Eric's question at the end of the game, is why can't they play like that in that game? They've done it before in the past few games, say with Liverpool, with Arsenal. What's the difference now? Why can't they then play that way against City? My thoughts on it are that when we've seen Man United lose, when we've seen them play poorly, for me it's been in situations where there's a lot of pressure, more pressure than the usual game. For example, the first game of the season, that's quite a high pressure game. Trying to play in this Ten Hag way, first time doing that in front of a big Man United crowd, that's a different sort of situation. Same again against Brentford, first away game, and having to do that again. Then coming to this game, probably one of the toughest psychological games in the season. Take maybe Liverpool away as well. A situation where you've got a crowd against you and you still have to perform. As in all away games, you're up against it. I think fans are going to get sick of hearing this. I can really understand it, but it's a process. The process is that you have Manchester United players at the moment that are really comfortable playing in a certain way. The way I like to explain it in psychology is you have system 1, system 2. There's two parts of the brain that process doing things, that process doing football. System 1 is the quick, the instinctive kind of thinking. It's the 2 + 2, 4. That comes straight away. That's system 1. System 2 is the opposite of that. It's slow, it's logical, it's taking your time to think over something. What is happening at the moment is Manchester United players have this way of playing, say under Ollie and Rangnick, this system 1. They very instinctively fall back into doing that. They're at the moment trying to learn a new way of playing, and by that they have to think quite a lot about doing it. Say for pre-season, and what Eric had seen and staff had seen, that the players can play this way. They have been playing it, but the difference is there's not a lot of pressure in those games. There's not a lot of situations to knock you off your thinking. When there's a lack of confidence, when there's pressure, you go from system 2, trying to learn this new way of playing. Okay, I'll take my time to think about it and I can process it on the pitch, to, oh my God, there's a bit of pressure, something's going on, right, I'm going to fall back into my instinctive way of playing, doing the things that I knew how to do before. These Man United players are not yet comfortable playing in that Ten Hag style of way. So when there is any sort of pressure, when it's against Brighton the first game of the season, when it's against City, big derby game at the Etihad Stadium. When it comes to those situations, players aren't going to feel comfortable implementing that system, so they're going to fall back into the way that they used to play before. Another thing is really the same thing that I mentioned quite a lot in the last few games and talking about when they lost against Brighton and Brentford. It's reacting to setback. In all three of those games now, as soon as Man United concede a goal, it's so hard for them to come back. The results that they've had recently, and I've known this watching them, I haven't been overly excited, is because they have been on the front foot, they have done well, they have scored goals, they haven't really faced a great setback in those games, and because of that, they've been comfortable to play. You know, the term papering over the cracks, it's kind of exactly what that looks like. There's still processes underneath that still needs to be sorted out. When I look at it with regards to the thing I always reference, which is the process of winning, you know, my thing that I always look at, when it's the surface level, is the results aspect of things. When you get in the results, it all kind of comes together. But when that result isn't there, when the outcome isn't there, you need those foundations: good culture, good environment, good mentality, good performances, everything being consistent in those areas. So when you do lose, when you do concede, you have that foundation to keep working and keep going. The results are fantastic because they buy the manager time and they get the confidence of the players, which means that they can work harder on what they're doing and engage more with Ten Hag's way of playing and him as a manager. But they are, you know, at face value, there is that surface underneath that still needs to be built. That is a long process. The process that takes a season, 2 seasons, bringing players in, changing the minds of players that are already there. It takes a long time. I think Manchester United fans, you know, understand that, and that's okay. It's a nightmare when you have to go to games like that. It's things like this that make me interested in, say, like managers like Klopp, like Pep, like Ten Hag. I think for us watching, we go, oh man, like put Ronaldo on, put Casemiro on, do this, do that. That's the obvious solution to the situation at the present moment. But say, look, back when Klopp went to Liverpool, when Pep went to City, they have a certain way of playing in mind. They want to play that way, and they want to bring in the players that play that way, and they want to coach the players to play in that way. They don't change, they don't adapt to the team, to the situation. It's kind of sacrificing the short term to have that benefit again in the long term. Ten Hag could put Ronaldo on. You know, he doesn't press, he doesn't do what he wants him to do, but he could put him on and he could score goals. But Rangnick did that as well. And yeah, he scored goals, but it didn't really serve him well in the long run, did it? It was scary watching that game because Ten Hag was so stubborn, because he knew how he wanted to play. And you could see how the game went on into the second half. Yes, City backed off, but Man United grew into the game, and after, I think, 20 minutes or so, they started playing the way they were supposed to be playing. The problem was that, and it's quite interesting looking at the tactical aspect of it, you know, players, Man City players, playing out wide, moving the Manchester United players out wide, instead of playing compact, making them space out. And the problem is they need to stay compact to play the way it's supposed to play. And it's funny, it always looked like City were counter-attacking. It was awful. But the reality was that there was just so much space in midfield, and that's kind of how we got undone, really. The same problem in the Brighton game, in the Brentford game, in the Man City game. Taking too long to grow into the game, to feel comfortable within the game, to know what your job is, being able to process the situation properly and do your job and act instinctively. It was the worst moment for me. A lot of bad moments. Haaland scoring his hat-trick and doing his iconic celebration, you know, that meditation. And someone we talked about on here before, he's a player that really understands that, has awareness of his own mind, that perfect example of playing in the Community Shield and not scoring. And I think somebody talked about in an interview recently, but not feeling any pressure from that, not looking so much at the outcome, but knowing he was doing the right things, understanding the process of things. And then going on from that, going forward now, playing unbelievably, scoring so many hat-tricks. It's such a contrast to a Manchester United player at the moment, so reliant upon result and outcome. A Manchester United player in a Community Shield who's supposed to score and doesn't score might look at that and go, you know, and lose confidence because of that. It's awareness, understanding how you work and how you process. And that's what Manchester United need to do going forward, is analyse the game. What did you not do? What did you do? Erik ten Hag saying, this is my way of playing. You didn't do that here. You didn't do that in this instance, in that instance. and we lost the game. It has to be grounded within a process and not dramatised all the time, which is difficult around this club because, as you see, I go on Twitter now and suddenly talking about this and this player and that player as soon as we lose a game. I'd say it even if my dad wasn't there. You know, Manchester United have got one of the best managers in the world right now. What you have to do is wait. It takes a long time for those things to come into place. So yeah, I hope that sheds some light on things. From a psychological perspective, it will take some time for what the players need to be doing, for that to become instinctive for the players. So regardless of whatever situation they're in, they'll fall back into playing in that Ten Hag way. But yeah, thank you for watching and listening. Let me know what you think about the game, about my thoughts, everything like that. Do you agree or not? Make sure you like and subscribe if you haven't. If you're listening, leave a review as well. And yeah, I'll see you this week, next week, either one.